You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life,
whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy.
This week on Carlie's Couch, we're talking about the correlation between how much we love ourselves and the things we choose for our lives.
Hello. Happy Monday, or whatever day it is that you're hanging out with us today on the couch.
Yes, welcome to Carlie's Couch. My name is Alexia. We have Carlie Carpio to my right, and we are
Corley.
Where you from, Carlie?
Corley. Elbows came out.
Oh, brother. Today we want to have a discussion around how much do the things that we choose for our lives, like relationships, our friends, how we spend our time, how much of that is a direct reflection of how much we love ourselves. Do you agree, Carlie, or what would you say about the statement that the more you love yourself, the better those decisions are? Do you feel like there's direct correlation there?
I do. I was inspired and thought about this episode because I saw a quote was saying that your partner is a reflection of how much you love yourself. And it kind of just got me thinking about like life in general and the things that we choose that are in our control, right? We're not saying like, oh, you were born in this certain place. That's because you didn't love yourself. Not that. So don't be dense. But in this conversation, really looking at what we choose. And if I look at some partners in my past or some situations I put myself in, but for some choices that I made, it was a reflection about how much I love myself in that moment, or at least a reflection of what I thought I was worthy of.
The best way to think about it for me is what you just said, when it's like you look back and you can reflect on past things, whether you didn't know yourself, which is also part of loving yourself and like allowing your true essence and true desires, all of those things, right? Sometimes we don't even accept those things about ourselves. Like, what do we really want? Or, who do we really want to be? And what do we want for our lives? And that goes further to say, like, it does all of a sudden, like, certain things just, like the things that in the past you were cool with or okay with or put up with or even enjoyed. A lot of experiences I really enjoyed. And now it's a little bit easier to say, like, that's not really aligned with what I actually want. And a lot of times I think we see things come back in our lives. People from the past come back, or situations that come back. And you can remember, like, I don't want to do that the same way, or I want to do something different. And why is that? It's because, like, I know what's more aligned with me, and I actually like want to be on that path of things that, longer down the road, maybe even it's like I see a better result coming out of it.
Would you agree that they say being like spiritual practitioners, and they talk about it in the yogic practice of healing, that we have these things called samskaras that are wheels. It's like a wheel, and that things keep coming up for us in different situations until we heal or learn our way through it?
That must be in most practices, because what is that from that you're mentioning? The term?
It's Ayurveda, yoga, like the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. Also similarly in
maybe
Judaism,
Hindu.
similar
maybe
in
Hinduism.
Kabbalah, similar in Christianity, are, because I know like in Kabbalah they call it tikkuns, where it's like these are the things that whether that's like need for validation, for example, and that the people are going to keep challenging that, and situations will continue to challenge that until you're able to like grow past certain things. So that sounds similar to what you just said. Is going through those wheels, though, does that mean that you love yourself more if you're healed or more healed?
I think healing is...
That's an act of loving
evidence,
yourself, right?
Is evidence through action. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's how you can tell. Like if you're presented with the same situation, like the same inattentive person who doesn't really check check all your boxes or all this, and they don't really call or support you the way you want them to, but you're not putting up with it that this time, that is a sign, I would say, that you've healed through that.
Sometimes, because as you said that, I was just thinking about like, yeah, you make healthier decisions. And then it literally, this is such a slow moment. It just kind of connects. I'm like, wait a minute, healing is being healthy. Like, it's the same root of the words, right? The same words. And so that makes it almost easier for me to understand and to say, yeah, I think I agree with that. To say, like, the more I love myself, the healthier the decisions I make may be, because I'm doing, like, the more I care about myself, I want to do the things that actually serve me very well, or that serve me as far as, I guess, as far as, like, I can comprehend, and based on, like, my experiences and what I know and what I feel and all of those things. So yeah, I'm trying to look for a way to not agree, but I feel that yes. And I guess maybe the issue or the thing is, if we have a lot of things in our lives that do feel like, these friendships aren't that great, or, things aren't good, now what?
That's when you sit with what you want. I think physically is always the easiest example. If you are not happy with how you are feeling, if you have lots of brain fog, if you are always tired, if you are sluggish, if you are not where your body aesthetically wants it to be, all of these things, you have to make different decisions. And I think if you look at the health of your relationships, like, you have friends who maybe are doing a bunch of stuff you're not aligned with, if you have a partner who talks to you terribly and you told them time and time again that, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, I don't like this, and nobody's listening, then you're choosing to keep yourself in those situations. I'm not blaming you, because you did it at one point because it served you. And now that it's bothering you, there's friction because it's no longer serving you. So how can you start to choose better? You could change it overnight. You know what? I'm going to move to a new state. Fuck everything. I'm out. But also sometimes life doesn't work that way, or maybe that's inaccessible. So what does one step look like today? Maybe it looks like, oh, I'm going to break up with this person. That's really going to suck. I'm going to be sad. I thought it was my person, whatever. And then you can go into therapy. You can start talking to your friends about it. You can start opening up and healing. But it really starts with you checking in and noticing friction about things not aligning with where you want them to be. But if you don't know where you are or where you want to be, I think it's really hard to notice when this is happening in your life.
What if you feel like, of course I love myself, and you can notice there's some things going on around you? Like, I think it might be difficult, because I guess it does mean that we have to take, like, a major accountability. If I'm like, oh, I love myself, and but, like, man, this job sucks, does that mean I don't actually love myself as much because I continue to go to that job? Like, in certain places, I think, like you mentioned, that friction does come up, and of course there are going to be some things that are easier to ease than others. And I would say that if you were committed to drastically being like, you know what, I love myself too much to be going to this job that literally drains me every day, I'm going to start making some steps to look or Google some other things or talk to some friends or whatever. Like, I guess it still could be a process. It doesn't mean that you have to be drastic about all the decisions in your life. But that is one thing I think does happen, is like, when you are in that process of healing, or when you're really loving on yourself, it's more easy to point out and notice the things that change your vibe or that kind of change your environment. And now the hard work comes when it's like, all right, am I going to do something about this, or what am I going to do about that? Sometimes, especially when it's like relationship wise with people, sometimes I do feel that it could be an internal thing where we can meditate on, you could pray for, and I'm not talking about people who like do something crazy to you or anything like that, but like sometimes we can meditate on like how we feel towards people and like let them do what they do, right? Because this also isn't saying like, oh, I got to become everybody's therapist or try to change everybody around me. So a lot of it, I would say, is accountability for what places you're allowing to drain you, and people and situations. But then also it's like, well, what can I do myself to better deal with / not be affected by? And then what things, because I'm really feeling a calling to do something different or to be with somebody different or whatever else, what things do I need to really make moves towards changing?
Huge. And I think both are super important. I would say the internal, I would argue that the internal is actually probably more important because once you heal the lens with which you're looking at relationships, you're not chasing those same type of people who are always unavailable. And that starts with you. That's not them. That's you. And it keeps presenting because that's what you keep choosing. And I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it doesn't suck. I'm not saying I haven't been there, but just like all of these things. But once you start meditating, this is what I want my relationship to look like. My partner's going to be respectful. They're going to show up for me. They're going to listen. They're going to want to go to therapy. They're going to have their own therapist. They're going to do their own healing. All these things, like once you start putting it out into the universe, that's when it can start coming back to you because you're also raising your vibration to then open up for more opportunities in your life. And even with jobs, you can start thinking about visualizing what your ideal day looks like. What do you want it to look like when you go to work?
Vision studio. Yeah. Because you will want to do certain work. Like if you want something else, then you'll want to do certain work. You might be in a rut of spinning your wheels for a while, and you're not gonna feel good until you start doing something, right? And then you ride that momentum, and then you feel better. So I do think that makes sense. It's so funny how we often see, like for me, like on social, I'll often see people are turning 30s or maybe older 30s going into 40s and sometimes older, where they start to talk about how like, oh, I can do what I want. Or it's like, it's something about getting older and certain experiences for a lot of people where all of a sudden it's like, why would you deal with this? Why would you deal with that? And I think that's an interesting thing that it comes with age, because in the same way we're like, we look back at certain things like, that was a mess. And now it's like you wouldn't put up with it. I think that's a big reflection of respecting yourself and your needs, which is loving yourself, because it is easier now. Like, if you're like, hey, I'm looking for a certain type of partnership or relationship, you don't even, when somebody hits you and just like, hey, it's like, I don't even need to answer this. I also don't need to be like, why do you always just say, hey, you don't really start the conversation? I also don't even need to do that. It's like, you do you, but it's going to be over there. Cause like, you don't even want to entertain certain stuff because you already know. It's like, why would I try to stoop to come grab you to bring you to me when it's like, there's too many people and things that are already on a particular level that I'm on. And a lot of times thinking about the fact that, and you're not even done. Like there's even more levels I could probably tap into. I know there is. When you look at how you eat or what you do, like every decision, it's like you can always tap in a little more on like making the better decision for yourself because you love yourself. But I think it's so cool how certain things also just kind of like fall off or fade away because you just don't even give it the attention. Like, I guess maybe there's more clarity to what's important. And I feel that over time we finally, especially for women too, like you finally realize like you are the most important thing in your life.
You are the prize. You are the prize. And I think that's why I really wanted to talk about it, because it feels uncomfortable to say, oh, my life decisions and what I choose are a reflection of how much I love myself, because it's uncomfortable to be like, oh, maybe I don't think I'm worthy as much as I thought I did, or maybe like, why did I accept that? And that's uncomfortable, but it's beautiful because you literally can change that today. And life, you really can create a life that you love, from your relationship to your day-to-day routine to everything. And if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like life is terrible, whatever it might be right now, but it can always get better. And you can start to make choices that are in alignment with your ideal self, with who you want to be, with how you want to love on yourself. It just makes me so excited. I'm like, there's so much possibility. And I don't know if it's just a facet of getting older or healing or all the stuff, but like you really can start to shape a life that feels so good on the inside.
Mm-hmm. And it can include even the smallest things of like the way you get up and get dressed in the morning. Like there's a few weeks ago, I realized, because I'll be in my meetings, and a lot of people still work kind of remote. So it's like, all right, let me throw this button up on in my shorts still, or my pajamas. But one thing I thought about too was like, you know what? I have meetings. Most of my meetings start at like 8:30 in the morning, but they're internal, right? So I would just I'd be up and like have had my coffee, but I might not have like makeup on and all that stuff. I'll hop on, we're talking, whatever. Then I realized like maybe I should give them a little more, and giving myself a little more in exchange, right? Or at the same time. And it's like, well, let me make sure I actually have taken my shower, got myself together before I sit down and do anything with them. And I noticed like even those smaller things are just taking care of yourself a little bit more. Like it just guides your day. Like you're just more of a boss and like more of a, on point than when it's just like kind of moving around through the day. One of our friends, we make fun of him because he loves wearing this. He has like this Snuggie thing. He literally wears it every day, all day. But it's just like after a while, people are like, you might feel better if you like got dressed during the day or did something a little more, because then you feel that, right? Like how you look and can affect how you feel, and how you feel like can affect everything else. And it could just be those smallest decisions. So it could be a small decision. Sometimes at nighttime when you like, ugh, I don't even want to wipe my face for real, or like I'll just brush my teeth in the morning, whatever. Those little small things. And it's like sometimes I'll challenge myself with that and be like, well, do you love yourself or not? Like, you be like, well, let me go wash my face. Let me go do the routine, or let me make sure I'm, have my stuff together. And sometimes I'll ask myself that and be like, no, I'm cool. Like, and then sometimes I can ask that and move forward. But essentially it's like all these decisions we make, who are you making them as? Like, and if you have a vision for the person you are and who you're becoming and all of that, it's a little bit easier to be like, well, what decisions would this person make? And then you feel wild if you actually don't make them. So
yeah, the small things are really the big things. Like making my bed, like having certain anchor things. Me and my line sisters were talking about routines. People are like, well, how do you build a new routine? What does your routine look like? And I really sat down and thought about it. And I was like, oh, I have a pretty good routine. Like my facial care stuff in the morning, my mouth, I've been working on gum health and teeth health. Like as we get older, just thinking about all these things. So I've changed that up. Be using my little Sacred Edge drops because, taking care of that. But like making my bed, doing my coffee, make sure I have time outside in the sunshine in the morning first thing. Like those little seemingly little things actually change everything. And I'm laughing about the clothes stuff because I'm a trainer and I be teaching classes and kids. So it'd be real easy for me just to dress for a workout. But I remember the first studio I worked at was Thrive, and the owner, Lala, was like, she was like, I know you just dressed in a workout. She was like, but if you put more effort into it, it like you said, it just makes you feel better. How was you showing up? Well, I wasn't showing up crazy.
Now she pulled you to the side.
Nah, I wasn't showing up crazy, but that was
workout
just
clothes are just workout clothes.
But that's like the benefit of having a friend who's a few years older than you. And she was like, yeah, it's just workout clothes. So in my head, I'm like, oh, cut off t-shirts, different, because I'm just working out. But then she was like, no, like, let's get you some matching sets. Like, she actually, like, bought me some stuff to really, to help me. Like, this is your brand. This is how you represent yourself. This is how you show up in spaces. Even for yourself. She's like, fuck the brand. Like, show up for yourself. And, like, it really does change everything. And it's seemingly little things. But I'm so grateful for those people who did pour into me like that. And in a very loving way. Not a bitch, what you got on, but like a,
it's all a process of leveling up. Because same, like when I first started going to the gym in like 2017 with my trainer and stuff, if I look back at that stuff when I just was throwing on, and they used to make fun of me because I would have leggings on, because at the time I didn't even realize the difference between like just throwing on a little cheap H&M legging versus the actual like some dry fit or the thicker joint that actually shape you and stuff. So I was just pulling up whatever too, and it's like that's fine. And as you care more, you do start to do things differently. Like now, like I don't know, there's only I would try to put things together that make sense to go out and do my run or whatever, right? So because we love ourselves, though, we are interested in like, what do I need to do? Like, especially if you're interested in a particular thing like physical health or whatever it is, cooking, whatever, right? Like you love yourself, so you're looking more at ingredients. You're thinking more about where you shop, or you're thinking more about the sodium and the sugar and all of those things, right? So making those little decisions can impact you. And what's crazy is that those decisions are better decisions that also like perpetuate into like just more success in general, I feel. Just showing up in a meeting a little more like makes for a better meeting sometimes, or it really does. That better meeting can like make for better relationships with the people you work with or with your clients, and like all of that matters.
Actually, it makes me laugh. I wish I was wearing the dress I wore in the last episode in this episode because I do markets for Holistic, and I was trying to think about what I was going to wear to these markets. And a lot of the people at them have their own little T-shirts or they wear jeans. And this, first of all, I hate jeans and I be hot, so never. But I was like, what should I wear? And the first time I had on like a cute little yoga set, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. And then I started wearing sundresses. And like it completely changed. I have so much more people come up to me because they love my dress, because they can see all my skin with the butter on it, because I feel pretty and I feel beautiful and I feel like nice in this dress, and it just gives me more confidence. And so now I'm like, okay, I got to go buy more sundresses outside of the two I'll be rotating, so that, you know, I can just continue that. But I even see a difference in how people approach me at my table. It's a big thing. The little things be the big things, but do what makes you feel good and beautiful and confident and comfortable.
It's about the energy of it and doing things that bring energy and don't like take too much or drain energy. So in thinking about this, right, let's talk about like with relationships again. For example, if what happens now if you're like, oh, I love myself and I have this relationship, but then things change, right? Like our levels of what we want and what we accept, and sometimes you can grow and like you feel like you grow out of things, which is actually one of the reasons why I think it's like another challenging belief with relationships, where it's like your stuff might seem good now, but you know, what if I want to go in a different direction, or I grow in a different way or change? And so it's also, I would say, very important. One thing that I've started to think about in loving myself is that what's important to me is having people around me, whether it's like relationships or dating or friends or whatever, is that I'm going to tend to keep around or connect with other people who are also kind of growth minded. Yes. Also think too about like people who kind of actually help raise your conscience and not bring it down, and not even trying to Dr. Umar y'all, but like, you know, some people you hang out with, it's like, it's fun, it's cool, we know each other, but like it's not helping you do anything, you know, or maybe you realize like, you know what, when I hang out with this person, we kind of end up chatty pattying about people, and that's a little low vibrational, just little things. And like we said, the energies of stuff like just help you to be around the people. And then if you're around growth minded people, then you actually don't have to be worried about like the separation of it, and or you know that those things will healthily happen. Like it's okay, like loving yourself, making better decisions, like that doesn't mean you have to stay with anybody. You don't gotta leave, or like however you do things is like how you do it, depending on where you are now.
Yeah, and that might be changing access or talking to them different times, boundaries with them. That might mean people aren't in your life any longer, and that's fine too. But it doesn't have to call and be like, I'm not your friend anymore because of this. Like things can fall off. But I think that's the freedom and the beauty of it. Whenever you are curating your own life and creating this life you love, building it, whatever metaphor you want to use, like picking those things that really feel good. And I think growth minded has always been a big deal for me. Like all my friends are super growth minded, and so it's like we don't have to talk all the time, but every time we talk, like we're always growing and teaching each other new stuff. And like actually was hanging out with my friend Carlie, who owns Change the Tune that I work with, and we haven't hung out in a long time because she be all over the world. But we went hiking and we were climbing trees, and it was so beautiful to talk about all the new stuff, like all the personal growth and personal development stuff she's been doing. Like I can see it in her energy and her aura and how she shows up. Like we literally were climbing trees, and I had such a good time.
And so how would you say that's a reflection of you loving yourself, and like those experiences and things you're doing?
Is that I love myself, so I surround myself with people who are curious, who are always learning, who love nature, who love pushing me and challenging me and asking me good questions, who, you know, care about my business and care about what I'm doing, care about my health. They know what I like. Like I love being outside. I love hiking. They curate. She wasn't like, hey, do you want to go to this? Nothing wrong with a good strip club. She's like, but do you want to go, you know, drink this thing and do this? Nothing wrong with drinking either, but she knows that's not really my MO. Like I remember being in business school, like, can we do anything else but go drink? God, please. Like I love a good little whiskey here and there, but like anything else, please, people. And I realized like, okay, well, this is why I don't hang out with y'all that much, because this is what y'all want to do, and that's fine. It's just not on my vibration, and I love myself enough to choose differently, even if it was unconventional.
Yeah, I agree. So now for the listeners who might be like, all right, well, should I be loving myself a little more in certain areas? What do we say to that? If now this is like making me think about certain areas in my life, like, if I'm not really rocking with this, does that mean I don't love myself as much as I should? Now what?
I would think about it as like loving yourself, but also as a sign of alignment with like where you want to be. And maybe you don't know where you want to be. So I would say the first step is to just take an assessment of all the areas of your life, like physically, how you feeling? Mentally, are you good? Like, how are your relationships?
And it is good to call yourself out too. And it's like, I keep ordering junk food. Like, but I also know, like, when you find yourself doing things, but you're doing things saying like, I shouldn't be doing this. Like, that's when you already really know. And now you have all this friction, right? I think for me, I just continue to challenge myself and like directly be like, all right, what's the decision that I would make like in this space, right? So it's kind of being very aware of it, and then starting to make some different decisions from the place of not like, oh, I can't do this thing, but you know what? I love myself too much to be responding to that text, or let me do this instead or do that instead, and just start to tally and like give yourself kudos for those decisions that you're making that are a reflection of being aligned with yourself.
Yeah, and I think we deep down know, like you might be like, I do love and that's great. Love yourself. Amazing. But there's always a thing, like if your finances aren't where they want to be, if you're too scared to check your bank account, if you're not doing that, like there's something you can heal there. If you like get irritated with family and you keep putting yourself in situations, like there are situations in your life where you can be like, okay, what do I actually want? How do I want to feel? And what are things I can do internally to help me build up resilience to be able to handle this? But also externally, what boundaries do I need to set? Like how can I move in a way that is more loving for me?
Yeah, because you're not an anomaly. Like everybody is making decisions that are not always coming from that 100%. This is the best decision for me place. And this is what we can be focused on or be thinking about all the time, really, is like, how can we be more aligned or in certain places where we know we feel friction. It's like, what do I need to do next? I think a lot of times we just don't even challenge ourselves enough or accept that something can be a little bit different, or accept the accountability for like, I'm choosing this. And sometimes we need to say like, well, why? Like just the idea of just uncovering things, because the why of it is really where we need to figure that out anyway, right? You might not be going around being like, I don't love myself, but if it's like well, why do I keep trying to get approval from this person who is not even all that? It's like there's things there to uncover, beliefs to uncover, ways you can get more aligned. And I think that process actually can, for me, like it kind of becomes fun to just like ask questions and like trying to figure it out and think, because now at least it's like on your mind to move differently or to pay attention. And that in itself will at least like not have us on autopilot just doing stuff.
Yeah, because you don't want to live your life on autopilot, look up and it be done. But like be a detective in your own life. Like think about, but also
because it can be so great and so much better.
It's so much fun.
It can always be so much better, and that also doesn't mean like you look around like, oh, everything's terrible, and it's like just taking off the fact that there's limits. Like you don't have to settle for anything particular. So
ever.
Like just continue to be curious, be a detective in your life, and question things. Question why you do certain things. Question why you're putting up with certain things. Uncover what's going on with you. And as you get more aligned and as you feel like really in tune with the you that loves you, then you're making decisions that reflect that. And the things around you will be more aligned. They'll be more easy. They'll feel more fulfilling. And I think in general, like we feel happier when the things around us are more aligned. And it'll always change. So it's always a constant, right? But definitely take the time to think on that this week.
Yeah, I think that's when people say you create your own reality. That's what they mean. Like it's every day we're choosing things and making decisions. So I hope that you're creating a reality that you love.